Hey team, and welcome to the Ladies Best Life podcast. I hope you're feeling absolutely incredible on this fine Monday. Today we're going to be talking about boundaries. Boundaries are something that I see many modern day women struggle with. They struggle with saying no to people, they struggle with prioritizing themselves, and as a result of both of those things, they end up bottom of the priority pile. They can't look after themselves because they don't have the time or the energy, and therefore they get out of shape, they feel exhausted, and they literally think to themselves, is this it? This is something I see so frequently. And I always ask questions around so why do we do this? What is it that's going on? How can we make it better? And I believe where this comes from is one, generational. So if your mum did the same, so if your mum always, or primary caregiver, if they always prioritized everyone else before themselves, if they overworked to please the boss at the cost of themselves, this is what we call learned behavior. And you're now at the pits of the priority pile because you've allowed yourself to come last for so long. The good news is when you go through moments like this, when you start to realize that you're doing this, you can start to make changes. Boundaries can literally be saying no a little bit more. They can literally be along the lines of saying to the kids, I'm going to be 30 minutes every morning working out. That's my time. You do not come in. It could also be not accepting phone calls when you're not in the right frame of mind. It could be when your boss asks you to do an extra bit of work, you say, actually, I'm spent, I've got no time, no. And it would be interesting to be in your mind right now to understand how that feels for you as I'm talking about it. Because a lot of people don't have the courage to say no. A lot of people don't have the courage to put their needs ahead of other people. And it's not that you're going to, I say this to people when they join CC, it's not now that we're going to ship you off to India, we're going to take you to a 8-week meditation camp and you're now going to become all zen and cut everyone else off. No. Like, this is life, right? We have to learn to manage the reality of life. So if you're feeling like when I'm talking about those boundaries and putting the things in place, you feel maybe a bit of tightness in your throat, a bit of tensity in your shoulders, maybe a bit of a fucking absolutely not in your head, good. Because now what you can do is ask yourself the question, what's the alternative? Do I want to continue living life like this, giving everything else to other people? Or do I want to find a way to prioritize myself a little bit more? Doesn't mean that you need to, cut everyone else off like I just said about. Doesn't mean that you now need to say no to everybody just because you're trying to put in boundaries. It's about finding the sweet spot. And that's what life is about, right? Life is about finding the sweet spot, finding what works for you and what doesn't. And if you're listening to this, I can pretty much guarantee you're one of these women who are like, fucking hell, I cannot carry on like this any longer. I cannot keep going on like this. Whether it be that you've gained 2 stone, whether it be that you are just not really living life on your terms and you're feeling that friction, you're not really connected to your partner. If you think about it, poor boundaries, usually due to poor self-worth or low self-worth, kind of ripples out into everything in life, doesn't it? So it doesn't matter whether you're overweight or in great shape. It doesn't matter if you're employed or self-employed. It doesn't matter if you're a mum or you're not. Think about where you're currently at and think about, oh yeah, actually, could my boundaries be better? Because it's a rarity that I speak to women who are in their 40s with a couple of kids in a career that have good boundaries. When I hear people who do, I'm like, yes, it's a rarity, but fuck yes, well done. And that's not to make anyone feel bad. I think we're very much in a society where it's conditioned for you to be like, give everything of yourself to other people. It's a good thing to do. And if we even go back a little bit further and we look at external validation, when we're a child, we need to be validated because we need to be kept alive. We need someone, we're dependent, aren't we? But what happens as you go through life is you have the ability to reparent yourself. You have the ability to break away from these poor boundaries. You have the ability to gain your assertiveness. But what it takes is courage. And this is something we work on inside the coaching club. It's called, I'm about to say country club then. Welcome to the country club. It's the ABC, assertiveness, boundaries, and courage. And I love this because assertiveness and boundaries are needed. But in order to get those 2 things, we need courage. And I love that. I think it works really well. And the women that we work with, generally women in their 40s, bottom of the priority pile, low self-worth, tried a lot of diets before, or if they're already, in a body shape and size that they're happy with, they are constantly overwhelmed. They're constantly tired. They're constantly giving themselves to other people. So just have a little look at what boundary you can put in place first. It could be well, I say it's the easiest one, but for me, the easiest one would be to keep my phone on don't disturb. That's a strong boundary. Like whenever people try and ring me, you can't get through. And I have certain people that can, like my mum. But if my mum was to abuse that boundary and ring me every day, I'd say the same to her. You can call me and I'm on my phone a lot. So when I'm ready, I'll call you back. But we just allow ourselves to be bombarded. Even when people have the notifications on their phone, it makes me question why. Because a notification pinging on your phone is impacting where your head is at in that given moment in time. I see that as a poor boundary, personally. But again, you need to look at your life. Is it that every time you go to work out in the garage, the kids chase you and, come in with you and they're, mom, mom, mom? Or is it even when you go for a bath? I understand that putting boundaries in place may be tricky to begin, and that's okay. But what is the alternative? What else would it take for you to get there? So start to have a look around your life at where your boundaries currently are. What are they? And I would write this down if I was you. And then where else do you feel like you're just not really being strong enough? Maybe you feel like you're being a bit of a doormat. Where else is that in your life? Could be with your partner, your children, your boss, your parents, your friends. Because when you can start to put these boundaries in, you start to say yes to yourself a little bit more. Now, a little bit of a side note, it ain't going to be easy. We are unfortunately not surrounded by, but we generally tend to have conditional friendships around us. And that means if you act like this, I'm your friend. If you don't act like this, I'm not your friend. So what can happen when you start to put your foot down a little bit and stop being such a doormat is people around you can start to get a little bit riled up. You've changed. Well, this used to be the case. Well, you used to let me do that. But the question to ask yourself, which is what I say very frequently, is what's the alternative? You putting your foot down to prioritize yourself a little bit more is not selfish, because if you are constantly fucked, you're giving everyone a really shit version of you. So imagine if we could give everyone a slightly better version of you. And to do that, it's going to take better boundaries. It's going to take you prioritizing yourself more. And a really good frame that I got told not so long ago was, see boundaries like a brick wall, okay? And you are the setter. So you've set that brick wall. You then have what's called a boundary tester. So children, I'm working out 7 till 7:30 every morning. You do not come in. You go to your dad or whatever, right? They open the door, mum, you say out, go. It's my time now, okay? That is the kid coming in to test the boundary. If you allow them to come in, you are flexing on the boundaries that you set. And if you look at that brick wall, what kids are doing, or anyone who is a boundary tester, they are looking for a loose brick to push through as they're coming into the room, or as they're asking you to do that extra shift at work or whatever. If you allow a brick to fall, if you allow them to push it through, they are going to have so much more ammunition to keep trying to push the boundaries more. So you have to, being the boundary setter, you have to remain strong. And it's a great little kind of visualization, I believe, when you're flexing this, when you're testing this, because you can go, right, okay, there's a brick wall. This is the boundary I've set. Keep it minimal to begin. If this terrifies you, keep it small. Don't let it be this big monumental thing. And be like, right, okay, they're testing that boundary now. They're poking their finger around, trying to find a loose brick. Stand strong. Do not let them break it. Because if you do, it's going to be so much more frequently asked to test and push that boundary. So I hope that's been helpful today. Just a quick one again, because I want to keep these bite-sized, give you little kind of frameworks to take away. Because if you're on a journey or you're wanting to embark on a journey of self-betterment, whether that be fat loss, fitness improvement, better energy, better health, it's not just as simple as do the surface level stuff. Like if it's fat loss, eat less and move more. Why can you currently not eat less and move more? Probably something to do with boundaries being poor and you being bottom of the priority pile. So we need to look at the kind of things behind the behaviors. So if we can get you to get better boundaries in place, one by one, step by step, it will then create a better environment for you to look after yourself, to get the things done that you want to get done, to then create the results that you want. Often people don't go back far enough into the causation behind the behavior. If you can start to do that, you're already winning. If you have any questions, please let me know. Also, over the last 3 weeks, I have started a weekly wisdom email. It's completely free. You get an email from me every Wednesday morning. If you would like to be signed up to this, please hit me up in Facebook, Instagram, wherever feels best for you, and ask me to add you to the email list. We are having lots of responses so far, lots of you enjoying it, because obviously the podcasts come out on a Monday, and then every Wednesday you get the weekly wisdom as well, which is similar Sasha sort of spice and kind of energy, if you like, but it's obviously written rather than spoken. So have an incredible day, team. I cannot wait to hear how the boundaries are going. And if you're struggling, hit me up. See you soon.